What's going on, everybody? It's Garrett here at FETC 2026, Thinkering Collective, Thinkering Media, all the good stuff. We're talking to all the amazing people at the conference, getting our nose on the ground to understand what's going on in education today with educators. Guys, today we are here with Becky Keene. Becky, what's up?
Hi, Garrett.
Becky, tell us a little bit about what you're doing here at FETC.
So I am so honored to be invited to be a featured speaker here at FETC
Amazing.
2026. It's my second FETC, and it is a completely amazing event.
Absolutely.
Right? I've been doing ed tech conferences for 20 years. They're all unique. This has been a ton of fun. And so I'm presenting on AI in conjunction with my book, AI Optimism. Yeah, I know. What's AI? Who's not talking about AI at this point? So I have a book called AI Optimism, and that has been so well received. And I'm talking with teachers about how they can use AI transformationally and intentionally, how students can be empowered to be creators using generative AI. Those types of conversations make my day.
Yeah, and I think we're right in the same wheelhouse. The reason why we loved when we saw your name pop up on the podcast list is because Thinkering Collective is all centered around humanization of education. That doesn't mean that we're like afraid of tech. We're absolutely not. We design tech. But the idea is how do we leverage great tech, not just AI, to inform more humanized moments in the classroom. So It sounds to me like we're in the same boat, but you said AI optimism. You've written a book about it. I love that because we see so much, even at this conference, pessimism, skepticism, right, around AI, its implementation in classrooms, privacy, all the things that we, funny enough, didn't really think about before we let this whole cat out of the bag, right? What gives you optimism around AI?
So being an AI optimist does not mean I'm not a traditionalist, a skeptic, an idealist, a humanist, a futurist. There's all these different lenses with which we can view AI. Wherever you are, as a skeptic, a traditionalist, a humanist, you can choose to be an optimist. And for me, that means focusing on potential more than problems. It doesn't mean we ignore problems. We don't shove them aside. We don't pretend they don't exist. We talk about them. But in an education scenario, as you mentioned, the cat is out of the bag. The ship has sailed. Choose a metaphor. It's happened. So
we're going to spend the next 20 minutes running through metaphors.
All the things that it's water under the bridge. Yeah, like it's happened.
Cheese in the refrigerator. I don't know.
Yeah. The cheese is spoiled. So with that in mind, why don't we choose to focus on ways that we can use AI transformationally to redefine education? Because I lived the internet revolution in education already. I've already done that. So here we are, I feel, round 2, and we have an opportunity now in an even greater way to say, we know there are some downfalls, we know there's some negatives, we know there's some challenges. We're going to work through those together as an industry and also as a world. And in that moment, what could we be doing that's positive? Because there is a lot of positive. And if fear-based decision-making is how we're going to work through generative AI, we really are doing a disservice to our students. And that's who we're here for.
We're planning things based on the assumption that we can predict the future. And especially in a day and age where like technology, AI being the most kind of prevalent, is iterating at a pace to which is astounding, right? And I see from my generation, I don't speak for anybody else on age. I'm a Generation X born in 1980. We logged past, we had a digital future. Right. And in that digital future, I felt like there was a crux point, right? Of folks in my generation looking at it and going, I can either really understand technology and AI, or I can be a Luddite and say, no. I mean, you probably engage with people like this all the time that are just like, well, I have an iPhone 4. It works for me.
Does it?
Yeah.
I'm going to interject there because I read an article recently someone wrote for the New York Times, and I apologize, I'm not recollecting his name right now, but he tried to live for 2 days without AI, like AI off the grid, AI off the world. Now, we're not talking about, oh, you logged into ChatGPT. We're talking about he tried to not do anything that would touch AI for 2 days. And it's incredibly, wildly difficult. I mean, he couldn't pay a bill at a restaurant because we've got narrow AI, we have general AI. It really was impactful. You know, we've started to say it's pervasive. You can't escape it. Everything you do, down to using your water at home, is powered by a back-end system that's using predictive analytics to figure out where flow needs to happen and when and why, and charging you based on that. So it's really become a part of our world that we have to accept.
Where would you
move
see
forward.
too? Yeah, exactly. It's that's why I love the title of your book, is because I see, and the reason why I had mentioned that before is I see like there's a negative path to this, and then there's a very
Absolutely.
positive path to this. And I love the idea because I adopted the same mindset of like, it's not that I don't care about privacy. It's not that I don't care about the hallucinations that you see
Global
from
impact.
global impact, all of
Obviously.
that. But if you look at the greater good and the potential down the road, AI can transform and already, like you mentioned, already has in a lot of ways, that because we are, in my opinion, even in the States, just kind of this on a technology level, spoiled society, there's a lot that the mass population overlooks in the positive, right? It's easy to write a negative headline around AI.
Those get more clicks, honestly. We're not getting a lot of clicks, on articles about how AI is actually benefiting the environment or benefiting culture or benefiting students, that people don't click on those things. And in a social media economy, that's not the information we see go out. So for example, Broward County Schools here in Florida just did an amazing job of repurposing some of their tax-funded budget to implement AI in their heating and cooling systems that saved them so much money they could provide other resources for their students.
I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
And those types of opportunities are things we really need to be focusing on but look what we could do.
That's exactly right. And I think that's one of the things that we at Thinkering Collective are really fascinated with is we work with a lot of school districts. And a lot of school districts, as you probably know, are asking these big questions, are afraid to adopt AI in certain ways. And what we've always tried to take the lens is with, our consulting partners as we're working with school districts is how are we maintaining the human element in this? And how are we showing examples of, because the best way, in my opinion, to teach teachers is alongside. And so how are we showing these examples of how AI can be implemented in the classroom in ways that are a little bit safer, but then promote far more one-on-one moments? That being said, let me ask you this. How do you see, in a nutshell, let's say, AI in its best practices being implemented in schools?
Well, so I know you said nutshell, two-part answer though.
Right.
I think we have to separate our little learners, I call them, right? Our under in an AI world from the older students, because really it's two different applications. And I don't want people feeling like, oh, Becky's out pushing our, 4 and 5-year-olds are off using AI, because that's not necessarily the case. What we do see though is teachers giving students an opportunity to use generative AI to empower themselves. So maybe they're listening to themselves read a story and they're getting that feedback on their fluency practice. Or maybe they're using AI to help them code a game to build for another kid in their class. And that's being done in a safe, secure, built for education environment where kids may or may not be the one generating content. Maybe they're the one, implementing something, a work product that then is evaluated by AI. And those are all things that I think we tend to overlook. We kind of laser in on, kids are using generative AI. But in fact, we have all of these possibilities where kids are being served by an AI tool, right? A speaker coach, something that's helping them develop a skill that's a human skill that's completely outside of AI. So there's that application for especially our younger students.
One of the things I was going to say is a gentleman that I met yesterday was deaf. And we were talking about AI implementation, and he brought up Otter AI, which is a tool, obviously like a note-taking tool. Transcription, all of that. And he said, I don't know what I would do without this tool, because at events like this, where he may be too far to lip read, he's able to put out Otter AI and just watch and read. And he said, the only thing I was concerned about is if the wording's wrong and I come at I try to talk to somebody later and I bring up something totally irrelevant. Sure. But I think that there are a million different ways.
Translation, transcription. I'm just adding to your list.
I mean, I literally have AirPods that I put in and I can choose a language and it will tell me what people are saying as they're talking.
Because you have the now we all know that was a little flex moment for you.
It was actually a little flex moment. I don't know where to go from. I just immediately want to say, I have a Tesla. I have a Tesla. It drives itself.
I have a pool.
Yeah. I have a huge closet with shoes.
Part two. I have a part two, if that helps you segue.
Yes, let's go part two.
Okay.
That's too funny. I love getting called out.
So part two, of that is our older students who, in my opinion, should have access to a safe school-based full LLM, like a Copilot, a Gemini, ChatGPT for Enterprise, a Canva AI, something that's walled and guarded that they can go play in. We see that those students, the sky's the limit. Like they have now had all boundaries removed. They can translate sources, they can code, they can build things. And we've evolved their skill set. I talk a lot about skill loss versus skill evolution when I'm invited to speak with school districts, because it's not about like, kids are going to forget how to multiply. They're going to forget how to write a sentence. Guess what? That has happened. Like we've already had calculators. People still know how to multiply. They don't know how to do higher level math on their own, but they also don't need to. So what is going to happen when we say, oh, kids can't write a paragraph anymore? Maybe kids can edit a paragraph now better than they ever could before, eventually. I mean, we're 3 years in, so we need to think about this from a step back level, that in a decade, how will those skills look different? And what will we actually care about as a world that people can do from scratch?
It's a message, Becky, that I try to preach into the world, and I speak a lot at schools and try to empower educators in saying, and I love saying this in front of district leads, is in 5 to 10 years, the content in which you're teaching will be totally irrelevant in a world full of AI where kids, right, already have a hand device that is this extension of their brain, really.
Right.
But what happens, and it's already coming there, again, product drop, something like a Meta or a Meta display, right? You have, those will be then contact lenses, and then, mark my words, and then...
I love the futurist.
Yeah, and then kids, honestly, and they exist, right? But then it's about scale. Kids will just have this layer, right, over the world that gives them the information. I think what we're trying to say is, unless you truly understand, which is what we're fascinated with, which is what kids need in 20 years to be successful, unless you try to understand the real world and where it's going, we are going to, and I think we're at a crux right now where the world no longer maps to how we teach kids.
That's been true for a bit.
Yeah. And so, and I think because of something like AI, where we're gaming the system in the sense of, you typically go to school to gain knowledge. Kids don't go to school to gain knowledge anymore. To be honest, they gain knowledge through ChatGPT. They gain knowledge through the internet. They gain knowledge through Snapchat. You know what I mean? And so I love the idea because, again, I know, and maybe you know as well too, because this is your wheelhouse, that it's going there.
Well, Garrett, I feel like it's been going there, again, since we put the internet in schools. And 10 years ago, my friend Anthony Salcido said, the kids are learning without you.
Exactly.
Right? So what I love and appreciate about generative AI specifically is that I think it's amplified that challenge, where we thought the internet would do it. Many of us in education were like, oh, this is going to change everything. And it kind of didn't. We saw kids, now they're on screens and they're using the internet, but it's still just consume. I mean, pushing out content. Not every teacher, but as a general rule, there's a lot of push toward the student, and then they consume, and then they have an assessment on that. And so what we thought would happen kind of didn't. And I do think that generative AI is putting us now at a decision point where we can't ignore the shift.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Because it's a fundamental shift. It's a absolutely game-changing shift in the sense of, I look at a world where you look at a company like Alpha School, right? I think Alpha School is great. I think what Mackenzie Price is doing is phenomenal. I also know that $60,000 a year isn't scalable. So we really have to think. It's funny because she's like 2 hours a day on, generative AI, working with tutors, things like that. And I think that is amazing. But think about the budget
and also
requirements.
Think about the human element. Like we saw here at FETC in the keynote yesterday, a heavy emphasis on balance between the digital world and learning from a bot, and then actually getting hands-on in your planet and being involved with other people and doing things that impact the world that are physical. And I think that is a miss if we just are constantly focused on kids can learn from this chatbot. Yeah, but then how are they implementing what they've learned? How are they taking that beyond?
How are they
their
touching
screen?
grass?
Yes, to use a cliche currently.
Yeah.
What's happening that's outside of their screen. And that's why, so the company that I own, Phygital Labs, That's
Love the name.
Phygital. That's our whole brand, is how are we giving kids experiences that are physical and digital combined?
That sounds like a wheelhouse for Thinkering Collective, and I love that. I would
Good.
love
Let's
to
work together.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, talk to us a little bit more about that kind of work. And I love the name. We're Thinkering, right?
Right.
So it's a play on word, alliteration, if you will. Talk to us a little bit more about that work. That sounds fascinating.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. We were kind of quiet for a few years as a philanthropic arm. We have that still, doing some work with schools, but we just launched more broadly, relaunched, I guess, in October. And our emphasis is on using digital tools that can also impact physical worlds. So we're talking about, are we coding? And if so, can we add a microbit? Are we in Minecraft? And how do we plan that out in a real world, in a sketch, before we bring it in game? Right? There's all these opportunities to pull algorithmic thinking when we're planning our AI prompting. We're going to do that with note cards. We're going to sort them out on the table together before we put it into the prompt. Doing that thinking that's, again, outside of a screen in conjunction with a digital activity. And we carry that through into our professional development. So it's way we plan PD to have teachers intentionally doing things that move their bodies and use their brains differently, those state changers that really impact our neurons in new and different ways and allow us to see how we could be doing those things with kids.
Yeah, and so awesome. One of the things we've seen a lot in classrooms as well, too, is teachers not understanding or knowing how to use a generative AI in their classrooms. And one of the things we show them is everything has to map back to state standards, right?
Yeah.
And we work with Loudoun Catholic Schools, which is the county I'm in Virginia, on a fellowship about outdoor learning, right? And so getting kids outside, getting educators to understand how to craft curriculum outside. But one of the most magic things we came upon was, how do we quantify these in the moment learning moments outside? And I was like, well, I built this tool. Just take a picture, take a video, and watch what happens. And then they take the picture, they take the video. It gives them an amazing assessment tied to the standards instantly. So that's an example of really AI, in some sense, allowing for, giving the permission for these outside the box learning moments. It's just, I think we're very much aligned in understanding that, AI is a powerful tool, not because it will just take over everything and adults will sit like idiocracy on a couch watching three channels all day. Right. I think we need to understand that it's actually a way for us to be even more human. Becky, let me ask you this. What are you excited about for the rest of the conference today? Of course, I don't know, does it go tomorrow as well too?
Yeah.
Yes, it does have to leave tonight, unfortunately.
No expo hall tomorrow, but the sessions I have a session tomorrow morning, still going.
Wonderful. So tell us about your sessions here.
So, well, the one I did today, we've already done it, but it was Play AI. And so it's learning challenges where we take people through prompt challenges for text and imagery and code. And it's really modeling what they could be doing with their students. So that planning, the iteration, having it be a little bit of a sense of urgency, voting on each other's contributions, and then sharing the prompts and debriefing. Like, how did it go for you? What LLM were you using? How did you change? How did you add bound? That whole conversation, that was packed. Like, people were standing around the edges, which was really fun. Tomorrow, I have a talk on the power of partnerships.
Love it.
And it's the partnership between the teacher and AI, the student and AI, the students with their peers, the teacher with the student. It's all those relationships and how those work in harmony, ultimately, if we're balancing properly, to be thinking about, okay, we need a human connection, like this podcast is a human connection, but maybe we prepared for it with AI. Maybe you searched my name in ChatGPT and found out a little bit more, right? So it's that partnership element. So I talk a little bit about that and what that means and how teachers can be approaching it in their school without the fear-based factor of kids are going to, use these tools totally inappropriately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the work that you're doing is just so important, obviously, from our lens, which is humanizing education. Becky, if people wanted to go online and they wanted to check out your stuff, I saw your badge. It's relatively easy, but you tell the viewers and listeners where they go.
Yeah. So I have the wonderful privilege of being Becky Keene, Keene. And if you look up my name in Google, it's me. Like, I show up. I'm the first hit, which is very helpful. BeckyKeene.com is my website. My handle is Becky Keene or Becky Keene EDU. every
it.
social media platform. And then if you ask your favorite LLM, I'll also come up. So it just turns out like there's not a lot of other Becky Keens doing the same work I'm doing. So that works out.
I got to do the I was going to say, I got to do the same thing.
If you go look for me, you will find me. It's not hard. But BeckyKeene.com is my landing page, and that links to everything. And I put out a newsletter once a month called Release Notes. It's like kind of updates from the general world of ed tech.
I love the play on tech.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you. It took me a while to come up with that, honestly. And I didn't use AI.
I'm sorry.
That was all me. That was all me.
That's
yeah.
great. I love that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
It's always nice to have aligned people in the world. And we would love, of course, to talk later. We'll talk off camera a little bit more about how we can partner together.
Secret sauce off camera.
Secret sauce. My friends from FET 2026, Becky Keene and I saying goodbye. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks all.